For several centuries, we have heard the story, the legend, of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas was a man that traveled the countryside giving away his wealth to the sick and to the poor. But in the last couple hundred years, the legend has kind of shifted from St. Nicholas to a more commercialized version of Santa Claus. We all know who Santa Claus is. He is the big man that travels the world on Christmas Eve to bring toys to all of the good children of the world. And initially, the legend of Santa Claus and St. Nicholas was passed down to show the importance of kindness and charity, and to demonstrate that good behavior would be rewarded as well as bad behavior would be punishable. But in more recent years, Santa Claus has become a bribe for children, a tool to use to threaten children who are misbehaving. And as society, we're teaching children to carry on the lie that is Santa Claus.
The worldwide phenomenon that us as adults encourage children to possess is going to be the belief in Santa Claus. We are going to be exploring the unethical nature of teaching children to believe in Santa Claus, although he is not real. We always encourage children to tell the truth all the time, and it's difficult to support this idea when us as adults continue to lie to children. And not just about Santa Claus, but in general. We always reinforce this lie, and we encourage children to believe in this lie. And even when the truth does come out and a child does find out that Santa Claus is not real, we encourage them to carry on this lie so that they don't mess up any beliefs for the other children.
So what effect does passing down this unethical belief play on the psyche of our children? Well, in an article in the Huffington Post, Anna Almadre wrote about the inevitable disappointment that children face. She said that they can face something referred to as a JFK effect. A JFK effect is if you ask somebody where they were, what were they doing, how it made them feel when they learned about the assassination of JFK, they typically remember. Well, the same can be said true about learning about the existence of Santa Claus. Children remember who told them, where they were, how it made them feel. So when we pass down this several year-long con, we're laying the groundwork for our children not to believe and trust us on other topics as well. Children may begin to question the existence of other things they cannot physically see with their eyes, like love, gravity, or even the existence of God. Hannah Delvin, a psychologist, wrote for The Guardian, "The Santa myth is such an involved lie, a long-lasting one between parents and children, that if a relationship is already vulnerable, this may be the final straw. If a parent can lie so convincingly over such a long period of time, what else can they be lying about?"
Effects of a parent's lie to children. When a child knows the truth and when his parents contradict this knowledge, the child ends up doubting himself. Roberts. When the child ends up doubting him or her own self, the result is a lack of confidence. Children learn not to trust their own instincts.
Typically, whenever a child learns that their parents are lying to them or they have lied to them in the past, they begin to start questioning if they should trust themselves or if they should even trust what their parents are telling them. And this is not just with parents, but with anybody in general that lies to them about Santa Claus. Children are not always gullible. When children are lied to, they begin to distrust their caregiver, whoever cares for them. Even adults that continue to tell this lie also. This typically causes children to withhold information later on in the future because they feel as if their parent has lied to them, then it's okay if they also tell little fibs.
By encouraging children to believe in mythical creatures, we're discouraging their critical thinking skills. In an interview on The Late Late Show, famed astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson told a story about his daughter. When she was 6 years old, she lost her first tooth, like most 6-year-olds, and put her tooth underneath her pillow. Well, the next morning, she had realized the tooth fairy had visited her. So she ran and she told her dad what had happened. And he had asked her, how does she know it was the tooth fairy? Why does she think that? She thought she didn't have a really good answer for him. All she knew was she put her tooth underneath her pillow, and the next morning it was exchanged for money. So she went to school and she told her friends about what had happened. And some of the kids did suspect that the tooth fairy may have been their parents. Some did believe in the tooth fairy. So they decided to have an experiment. the next child that lost a tooth would put it underneath their pillow and not tell their parents. If the next morning the tooth was exchanged for money, then they had proven that the tooth fairy existed. But if the tooth was still underneath their pillow and nothing had happened, they had proven that their parents, in fact, were the tooth fairy. Well, we all know how this turned out. Obviously, the tooth was not taken by the tooth fairy, so the children learned the truth. But by asking her these why questions, Tyson was actually helping his daughter develop critical thinking skills. So how is parental power used to mislead our children?
So as we create the sense of dishonesty and we encourage our children to believe in something that is not real, we're taking advantage of our powers that we have over them. And specifically, we're going to be talking about reward power and coercive power. So reward power is going to be described as having the ability to reward someone with any type of material, whether it's tangible or not tangible. And this is quoted by DeVito in his book. And in this case, as we reward children, we obviously give them gifts from Santa Claus and in hopes that they will continue to believe. And so we tend to carry on this lie for as long as our children allow us to. This causes children to second guess what they've been told for years, and it creates an unstable mindset in the future.
Cohesive power. DeVito describes cohesive power as the ability to remove or take something away as a form of punishment. Now, we don't typically punish children for stopping their beliefs in Santa Claus, but parents will stop providing gifts from Santa Claus. And this lays the groundwork for children to question if they're going to be punished for stopping believing or thinking the way their parents want them to. And by utilizing this display of power, parents are in a position to influence people, specifically in this case, children. So why do we lie to children about the existence of Santa Claus? Is it for their own good, our own good? Why this deception?
Antisocial deception. This is a lie told to harm somebody, and telling this lie to children about someone who doesn't exist is a perfect example of it. Research from Kathy McKay and Christopher Boyle suggests that it comes out of a desire to return to your own childhood, a time where magic existed and anything you thought possible was possible. This begins to show parents a decision whether to lie to their children or to simply tell them the truth. Either way, this will affect them in the long run. Short term, it affects their knowledge of lying. It shows them that anything can be thought up and told to someone as a lie, and they could get very creative with this, causing a lot of issues. The biggest one being telling a lie to other children, and an endless cycle of lying going on. Pro-social deception. Giving a child the idea of being nice to others is one of the biggest upsides to this lie. They are told that Santa is watching them all year, and if they've been good, they get gifts, but if they've been bad, they receive coal. This is a very strong incentive for a child, because if they are good, they get anything they want, and all the parent has to do is buy the gift.
So which type of deception are parents using against their children? We have two different types we're going to be talking today about. Antisocial deception is going to be a lie with intentions of harming someone, such as spreading rumors. This is stated by DeVito in his book. And our next one is going to be pro-social deception, which is a lie that is told to achieve some good. This is also stated by DeVito in his book. And while some people will argue that the existence of Santa Claus might be pro-social in nature, many feel that children receive no benefit from being misled about the big man in red.
So let's summarize what we discussed today. By lying to children about the existence of Santa Claus, it can have psychological effects. Children can begin to feel traumatized. They may be forced to be in a situation where perhaps they no longer trust the words provided by their caregivers. They may begin to question themselves or have self-doubt. And by encouraging children to continue this belief, we are discouraging them from developing their critical thinking skills.
A few statements that we have that support our reward and coercive power section is going to be that parents display their reward power by providing gifts for children, specifically when they do believe in Santa. And of course, coercive power is used by as we stop giving gifts when they stop believing in Santa Claus. And although encouraging children to believe in Santa Claus may be part of our culture, I think we really need to evaluate the ethical impact that we have on our younger generations. Perhaps instead of misleading children to believe in something that simply isn't real, we should encourage them to use their critical thinking and discover the truth for themselves.
Antisocial deception is telling a lie to harm somebody. Pro-social deception is telling a lie to somebody with an intent of doing good. Lying to children about the existence of Santa Claus is what we're going off today. Is it good to tell them the lie, or is it bad? Encouraging children to believe in Santa Claus as part of our culture, we need to evaluate the ethical impact it has on our children. Perhaps instead of misleading children and believing something that doesn't exist, we could encourage them to use critical thinking skills to discover the truth for themselves.